CampHacker, bringing your world into focus.
Here we go. Hello, Camp Pros, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. My name is Travis Allison. I run a blog about running a great summer camp at CampHacker.tv.
And my name is Gabrielle Rell, and I'm one of the camp directors at Camp Boro. Camp Boro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentians, Quebec, with a linguistic program. And I'm chatting with you from Montreal.
And my name's Joe Richards. I'm the executive director at Pierce Williams Christian Center. We're a summer camp and retreat facility, a part of the United Church Canada's camping network, and we're located in Fingal, Ontario, halfway between Detroit and Toronto.
Hey, my name is Topher Adderhold. I'm the assistant director at Camp Gray. We are a overnight Catholic camp in Reedsburg, Wisconsin.
My name is Joel Van Egbert. I am one of the directors at Kennebec Camps, home of the Maine Golf and Tennis Academy in Belgrade, Maine, and I am chatting to you from beautiful Frisco, Colorado.
Amazing. Welcome to both of you. I'm going to come back and ask you both a couple questions just to get the audience started with you. But I wanted to say one thing before we get going. This podcast, we've had a number of problems with the feed of it, and I'm always so grateful that people struggle to find us and get set back up again and downloading automatically. One of the things that help us spread the word to camp pros around the world is reviews on iTunes, and because of the problems, we've lost all the old reviews. So if you would mind, it'd be so grateful, it'd be so helpful to us, and I think it would take just a couple minutes. Go to camphacker.tv/iTunes, and that'll pop up the podcast in iTunes, and you can click on the rating and review section there. Leave us a review. Incredibly helpful to us. One of the best free things that you could do for us is leave us a review there. That'll help us get seen by more camp pros. So that's at camphacker.tv/iTunes. So Joel, you were kind enough to suggest this topic today, and we'll get into that in just a minute, but I do want to come back to you. So you're at the Kennebec camps now?
Yes, sir.
Right on. And how did you get started in camp originally? Would you go as a kid?
It's kind of a funny story. Actually, I went to camp as a kid, and I did not like it at all. I actually was not a big fan of summer camp, and my dad was very persuasive and supportive, and we did a lot of father-son programs. I eventually went to residential camp, and like I said, I did not like it at all. And I like to tell people that I was homesick and I broke my glasses, so I was sad and blind the whole time. And and so, weird turn of events. I was a lifeguard, and my dad said, "Hey, there's this camp. They're looking for counselors, male counselors in May, just like a lot of camps are. You should give it a shot." And that was 15 years ago. And so I'm still at it. And, I think just generally I try to create a camp experience that I would have liked as a child. And so I like to say that I'm selfish, but selfless. So I'm selfish, I guess, at the same time. So it works out. It's definitely my dream job for sure.
That's awesome. So what's all involved in your role there?
It's at Kennebec Camps. It's a 107-year-old camp. It's one of the oldest camps in Maine, and they are trying to bring back a lot of the old traditions, and that's a lot of my job right now is working with the alumni, working with parents, recruiting kids, and then right now, just like a lot of people, is hiring staff.
Right on. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. It's awesome.
Thanks for having me. I'm a huge fan. It's a big deal for me.
Right on. That's great. And Topher, it's good to have you on the show too.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Topher and I met at Mid-States, I think, the first time, and then saw each other again in the fall. So I'm glad to stay connected. Topher, what's your camp story?
So I never went to camp. I went to sports camps as a kid, but not any type of traditional camp. And my senior year in college, I have a degree in marketing. All my buddies were finding jobs in the real world. And I thought, I'm going to go work at a summer camp for one summer. That'd be really fun. Yeah. I'm from Oklahoma, and this camp I found is in Wisconsin. And for some reason, Wisconsin seemed really exotic to me. So I came up for one summer, and I just fell in love with camping. And shortly thereafter, a full-time position opened up, the position I'm in now. And this will be my 9th summer this coming summer.
Well, it's fantastic. Camp Gray's lucky to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
What all's involved in your role?
So during the school year, a lot of it is the marketing of camp. So just trying to be creative in getting the word out with our website, but then Facebook, Twitter, videos, anything I can do to keep kids connected every single day of the school year. And then during the summer, it's really to help lead the summer camp program. It's a traditional camp. Like I said before, it's a Catholic camp, but we do canoeing, horseback riding, all that traditional camp fun.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Joel, you had reached out to me and suggested this might be a fun topic, and it's something that we've sort of covered before in little bits and pieces. Pardon me, but I think it's totally worth spending some direct time on it. We're going to be talking today about treating counselors right. And was there a reason something happened that made you think we should address this head on? Joel?
No, I just think that the counselor experience is. Can you hear me, sir?
We can, yes.
Hello?
Yep.
Can you see me? Okay. I don't know why that keeps happening. Sorry about that. No, there's no catalyst for like, gosh, I want people to treat counselors right. I just think in my experience that the counselor experience is as powerful as the camper experience. And I think that they leave camp wanting to go out and do incredible things for society and their communities, just like our kids do. So I think philosophically, it's important to give them an experience of their own in addition to the experience that they're giving the campers.
Yeah, right on. And what are you doing in the Kennebec camps to make it special for your counselors? Give me your favorite thing about that you're doing.
First time whether that's this, and so I want to try to embody what I think their experience will be like, which is fun, wholesome, supportive, incredible, and I think around 10 years into my career, my shift changed from focus on the kids as much to focus on the counselors. And I think generally speaking, if I can give the counselors the best summer of their lives, then I know they're going to give the kids the best summer of their lives. So I just want to get them excited to come out and come to summer camp.
Right on. That's great. Gab, I know that the counselor experience is really important at Waro. Why is that so?
I think very much like what Joel is saying is that we don't only have an opportunity to positively impact our campers, but we have the opportunity to do the same for our staff members. And it's simply common sense also that when they're feeling inspired, then the work that they do with the campers is inspirational. So, I mean, obviously it comes back onto us, but basically, I think we have a responsibility with our staff members to give them an experience where they are growing as an individual. They are going out into the world and they are going to have an impact on our society, and I want them to have the best tools and also judgment to do that. And whether you're a religiously affiliated camp or not, we are all stewards of this world that we walk on. And so you want to treat these staff members as best as you can and challenge them as best as you can so that, they're going to meet, not to get too philosophical, but, make a difference in whatever field they choose and as well as at home. So staff are very, very important to us because we want them to be good, good citizens, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right on. And Joe Richards, how is it at Pierce Williams? What's your thinking at Pierce Williams about the counselor experience?
Our thinking at Pierce Williams is really about the idea that we want staff to leave as better people, right? It's this concept that we are focused on campers first, and that is the goal, and all the staff understand and need to understand that. But if we can have these counselors leave as better people and do great things in society and encourage them to make change, then we've done a double duty, right? It's like this little bonus thing that we get to do, show campers the most amazing summer camp experience of their lives. Check. Make sure the staff have a great experience and leave wanting to do good in the world. And for us, it's really a huge component of what we do. and some staff, a lot of staff get it and understand it, and some staff, when they fail to understand it, don't spend a lot more time at camp.
Yep. Yeah. And Topher, do you at Camp Gray have a philosophy about what your staff should get out of the summer?
Very similar to what the rest of y'all are saying. I think it was Joel that was saying, and I couldn't agree more, that if they have a great experience, if our staff is having the best summer of their life, then it's going to be really difficult, I think, for those kids not to also have the best summer of their life. So a lot of when we're planning our schedule, our evening programs, we think about, are the staff going to be excited about this? We do 9 one-week sessions.
Right.
So sometimes it's the same thing over and over. But if they're getting excited every single week, and those kids, there's no way they're not going to love every minute of it. And hopefully through that excitement and that fun and the leadership that they learn, they do head off into the world. Better leaders, better people.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I know people always thought it was funny when I was directing that I said I didn't work with kids, because I never thought that was my job to work with kids. That I always said the same, that my job is to make sure that my staff are comfortable learning and developing and having a good summer that they will pass on. And, so it's a big part of it. Big part of what the job is as a camp director, and I think it's important that we highlight it and focus on it. And there are a number of things that we did as directors to make sure that their experience, that they grew as part of their experience. So one of the things, and Topher, you mentioned this, and I know you're not saying you're repeating exactly the same program every week, but there are things that come up, like Capture the Flag, that come up every week that could get really boring for some staff members. But we set out from the beginning and said, each week we'll have a different theme. And if a game is the same or 2 games are the same, we're going to modify it in some way to make it interesting for the kids, and so that the staff have that new energy to bring into something. But I think what they take home at the end of the summer is really important. What are the sort of things, Topher, that you want them to take home at the end of the summer? What changes do you want to see in your staff?
What I love about camp is, like I'd said before, I didn't go to camp as a kid, these types of camps anyways. And so when I started working at camp, I thought, well, this is for the kids. This is to help them grow and learn, and it certainly is. But I've been able to see in myself how much I've grown, and as being a leader in a lot of ways. And so, I guess I don't have any definite points, but that's really the big thing, is that every single person that comes to camp, staff, camper, whoever, when they leave, we want them to be better people. And maybe that sounds a little broad or whatever, but I guess in a nutshell, just to leave being better leaders, better people.
Right. I think that's just part of being a camp director. I don't think it's too broad. Meaning I don't think it's too broad. Meaning I think that's really the heart of what we do. As camp people. And
really, when I like to talk to our new administrative staff each summer. When I was a counselor, I loved being with the kids. And then when I got this full-time position, it was really difficult those first couple summers. I'm not with the kids as much. But like you guys are saying, it became, well, the staff now are my kids, and how can I show them a great time? How can I love on them and do everything I can so they do that great job as well?
Yeah. Of the others of you, is there something that you concretely say we want our staff to go home changed in some way?
I think change it's hard to describe for a person, and I try, sometimes at conferences or you'll hear camp professionals say what they think staff need, and I try to go away from that line of thinking because, well, I'm only 33 years old, so I'm not too far off of the age range of some of my staff. So I don't want to assume I know what they need. But what I want to do is create an environment that is ripe for growth, whatever that growth may be. If that's growth for the kids, if that's growth for the staff, if that's growth for me, which I always like, that's incredible. And so I love when you see, counselors that leave camp wanting to work in a kitchen because they enjoyed the kitchen at camp, or counselors that leave camp and they want to be a paramedic because they were a lifeguard at camp. And I think as long as you've got the pillars, the cultural fundamentals of growth and success and a little bit of challenge, I think that's maybe a lot of challenge for the staff. I think that's important. I think that's the Miracle Grow. the special ingredient. I think that's the profound thing about my job, is talking to staff 1, 5, 10 years after they've done their job and hearing what they've moved on to do. And 9 out of 10 cases, and you guys know this, it's a lot of it's attributed to their summer camp experience. So it makes me very proud.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. And Gab, what do you want your staff?
One of the things, Travis, is
Go,
that
Joe.
we build on this sense of that not only do we want them to leave us better people, and that is broad, but we need to leave it broad. It's the same sense as we're not going to change the life of every camper who comes to camp. There's lots of, I have friends who are motivational speakers, and one of the things that's, some of them have said in the past is, I want to change the life of every kid who sits in this school assembly when I talk. And I'm thinking to myself, good luck. And if you believe you did, then you're just fooling yourself. But at camp, it's the small changes you see in staff, and it's the small things. One of the great things is hearing staff stories, and part of what we have done in the past few years as we're doing a capital campaign is get our previous staff to tell us why was camp so important, and they'll actually write it out for us so that we can use it for for reports and for other things and the website. And the great thing to see is how much camp has impacted their lives, and what things we did as camp directors to help facilitate that change. And a lot of times, I won't take credit for that change. Camp is camp. Camp is there, and camp is going to happen, and the change will happen with or without me is part of my sense, because I've put a system into place where all of my values that all the things I found important when I was a counselor, I now try to pass on to these counselors, right? The feeling, the interactions, the everything. And some of my counselors don't talk to me in the first year because they're so intimidated. And it's funny because the older counselors are like, what are you intimidated by? But I just let it play out, because that's part of their experience, and part of them growing is the first time they come to me and ask me something totally uncamp related means that they've broken through something in themselves to be like, I can ask this of Joe and he'll have an answer, and they've lost the fear of being able to talk to me. And I know that sounds like I'm not an approachable guy, but maybe sometimes I'm not.
And Gab, for you?
Yeah, I mean, you want to keep it broad. All of it. I think basically our goal is that we want our counselors to feel successful at the end of the summer as well as challenged. And that's the basic goal that we have for every staff member. And there's certain things that we set up, at the very beginning so that people feel safe to be themselves, speak their mind. As Joe was saying, setting up systems so that people, not that there's just an open door policy, but that there's actually, you can visibly see communication happening. On another note, though, we also discuss with our staff members, with those 2 simple things as a goal for the end of the summer, what's going to make you feel challenged, and what does it look like when you feel successful. And especially for returning staff members that might be going into the same job, how can this become a challenge? What are certain things that you can do behind the scenes? What are certain things that we can contribute to so that they're growing as an individual? And then for either new staff members or staff members taking on a new position, let's make sure they're not overwhelmed. Successful means you're not completely overwhelmed and burnt out by the end of the summer, and that's not what we want. So what are certain things we need to do? What do we have to do to prepare you? What are your preparations? So sort of the fundamental stuff to get ready for a job just adds to your self-confidence, but also making sure that you're aware that you have the control in the challenge that you're going to set for yourself, and that we're there to support you with that.
Yep. Right on. One of the camp directors in one of my mastermind groups said something this smart, this week that was really smart. It's Chantel Jackson, who's been on a co-host before. What she's doing at Cairn this year is at this point in the hiring, like before you sign a contract, I want you to write down what you want to get out of this summer and what your own personal growth will be, because she then is going to have that available that she can check in with that person, so that she's making sure that their goal is. And I think the thing we need to get out of the way is no one's saying that staff should put themselves first. Everyone's saying kids first, but that there needs to be some growth and development of the staff as well. And so that's her thing, is she's going to check in with them and have some accountability that she will talk to them about what they are getting out of the summer.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. Multiple, as much as possible, one-on-one check-ins with the staff. I try to do 3. I try to do 1 at the end of staff training, and I always call that one "Are you sure this is still what you want to do?"
Yes.
Kind of chat. And it's a chance for them to kind of de-stress. Like, gosh, I need to spend more time reading this section of the staff manual, or I need to look at this again. A lot of my programs involve education, which it's nerve-wracking for a 21-year-old counselor to come in, create a lesson plan, go out into the wilderness, and kids have a good time and come back safely and things like that. So that's generally what they're nervous about at that time. The midsummer evaluation is more feedback from me, and I like to break it into 3 categories. This is what you're doing well. This is what you need to change, and this is what you need to stop. And that keeps it really streamlined. At that point, if I'm not excited for my least exciting midsummer evaluation, then I feel like I've done something wrong. Then I don't like to give people surprises in evaluations and things along those lines. So, and then the final evaluation is really the start of trying to get them to come back if I want them to come back. It's the high five, it's the good job, it's the what do we need to do to get you to come back next summer. And I've a lot of feedback from staff has said that they really appreciate it. And there's lots of informal, one-on-ones. Maybe they connect with the groundskeeper, and that's the person that they decide to divulge all their secrets to. That's fine, as long as they have somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Topher, do you do, like, outside of staff training, are there more things that you offer at Camp Gray for staff development?
Yeah, one thing I think this would fall under staff development is, so we have a staff of about 50, and so during the first day of staff training, we break that group of 50 into 5 groups of 10, and every day at the end of the day, those groups get together, and they're led by somebody on our administrative team, and they kind of process the day, talk about any struggles or issues they might have, talk about the highlights, all those things, really kind of just hang out together, have friends in a kind of a smaller group. And then throughout the summer, each morning, Monday through Friday, from 7:30 until the end of breakfast, which is, what time is that, 9:15, so almost 2 hours. Those folks' cabin groups are covered by their co-counselors or other staffers, and those groups get to continue meeting together once a week, just to have that time to be with a small group that you've gotten to know really well. And sometimes it's just hanging out and eating breakfast. Sometimes, though, the administrative leader will bring some type of discussion or topic. So, yeah, just a way to continue growing and processing all throughout the summer.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
We do something, not to jump.
Go, please, go.
We do something called similar to that. So I love the groups and diversifying the groups, but they still have their core group, they're like the group therapy group, the ones that they can talk to about anything. Yeah. And then I try to go a step further, and we created a program called the Companion Program, where we assign senior staff or returning staff to new staff. Or sometimes you'll have someone that's hired in that has a lot of experience. So we pair them up, and at the end of staff training, they get a chance to kind of ask questions in a more intimate setting than in front of 50 people where there's a lot of pressure and things like that. But the cool thing about that is that companionship lasts, in some cases, way after the summer. And I always assign myself to one as well because, again, selfish, But I still keep in touch with all my companions, and it's a really cool program, and it's especially good when you have staff and sometimes we have to make exceptions. Staff might miss a day or two of staff training. It's really good to have those folks come in and pair them up with a really warm, knowledgeable type person. Tends to break the ice significantly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Gab, did you have any way or any sort of mentoring built into the Waro system?
Yeah. So what we have, this is mostly reserved for staff members that have, they're doing their job for the second or third year. And so that's where it plays into the challenge part that I was talking about earlier on. So the first year, I expect staff members to be learning their job and doing it well, because hopefully we prepared them well for it. So they're learning it and they're doing it well. The second year and third year, if they stay in that position or a similar position, now they can make changes, adapt the program a little bit based on their experience. But then also what I expect from them is to do mentorship. And so mentorship is unofficial. They tell me who they want to mentor and tell me why and what they want to do and how they want to do that. But they don't tell the staff member about that mentorship program. And the reason why is we don't want to put pressure on younger staff member to become the next program coordinator, next head of kayaking. But we do want them to learn how things are done behind the scenes, and that's applicable to any position on camp, or if they go somewhere else, it's applicable. And this way it gives those staff members that are doing their job really well a little bit more responsibility, especially for the person that's mentoring and the person that's getting the mentorship. So it's unofficial. It doesn't add pressure to those staff members, and it works really, really well. It's a very cool program. They just have to talk to me about it. I initially start that conversation and say, start thinking of a couple of people, and then they just tell me how things are going. It's a very fun program. And then people find out about it years later and they're like, what? That's why I learned how to do lists. What? You know, like, that's right.
I think that's an amazing program.
Thanks.
Yeah.
How
about you, Joe?
I think that is, well, growing up at camp, having gone to camp as a kid, as opposed to some of us here, we had lots of things that happened when I was a young staff member. We always did. I grew up in a Christian camp, at a United Church camp, and we always did prayer pals. So we would have a staff meeting every morning, and literally some years, prayer pals were like, you got them on Sunday when you arrived, and that's the person who you literally just spent 2 or 3 minutes with after the staff meeting. You can pray for each other, or you can just chat with each other, and then you go off for your day. So it's a great way to start your day. Other times it was literally the staff lining up in a big line and then folding in half, and that's who you would pray with for that day. So something like that really helped me as a young staff member. We also, here at Pierce Williams, we do staff devotions every Thursday night to really make sure the staff get some message of betterment into their lives. So it's specific, and it's a staff devotion where leadership team members cover off the cabins, and they get to do staff devotion, and then they have a staff snack, and that staff snack is a special thing too. But for staff training, we also do something called Think Together groups, which is an idea that we brought back from the Buckeye Leadership Workshop years ago. So at Buckeye, which is coming up in April, everybody, so if you want to attend, feel free to register, buckeyeleadership.com. At Buckeye, we do a Think Together group. So I'll be as part of the committee for Buckeye, I'll have a group of 10 to 12 people who are in my Think Together group, and every morning you'll get together with those people to sort of start the day. And we have themes for our Think Together group. So, activities we can choose to lead, and we can also just touch base with people. And Think Together groups are such a powerful thing because you have such a wide range of people in that Think Together group. So at camp, you can have leadership team members and you can have CITs, and you might have a group of 10 people that wouldn't normally talk to each other, but in the Think Together group, what happens there stays there, and it's this powerful bonding that they have as a group, as long as you have some a competent facilitator to facilitate that. So we brought back Think Together groups, and we do it during our staff training, and then during the week because our staff come and go, it's a bit different setup that way, but during the week we try to keep those groups together, and at least that then they're more comfortable talking to someone as well. So it's just giving them the value of knowing other staff and having a leadership team member that they can talk to and know that no questions go unanswered or are silly questions.
That's brilliant. There's lots of good check-in systems. I know that on our leadership training podcast featuring Gab and Beth and Ruby, who's also been on the Big Show before, they talked about wellness partners, which was a check-in system. I love the word companion, though. That's smart, Joel. Really smart.
Yeah, you can have that one, Travis.
For at our
You have
old
to
camp,
hashtag
wellness
it,
partners
though.
has
Hashtag.
wellness partners have become known as wellies, and so I know that there are people that still in contact with their check-in partner, their wellie, years afterwards, and still you see things on Facebook that they're giving them special something or recognition just to check in, and I think that that's been really powerful. In the same way that your companion system has. I was thinking about things that we leave staff with that are not, here's how you do your job better, and how important that is, certainly was to me as a director. And we did a number of things that we would call life skills. So at staff training, as a break from here's age group characteristics, we would throw in some life skills things that would be really unrelated but would help them be better people overall. So it's funny for me to hear now, and we just did a big alumni event on the weekend, so I heard this a few times. The things that people remember me for are, for my staff alumni, I'm known as the guy that taught them how to do a good handshake and also taught them how to waltz. And those are two life skills that I think are essential, and handshakes are a thing that we all have in common as alumni of our campus. Is just a big thing that brought us together, because people, when they go get new jobs, still email me to this day and said, I gave my Zoic handshake and it helped me get a job. And, that's one of those things that I wanted to make sure they got. But also, learning how to waltz is just a great life skill too, and fun. And Beth and I teach them how to waltz all the time. And I know that she's done it with staff since when she's been at other camps doing training. And it's something that they take with them that I think that makes them feel special, because I've given them a skill outside of, hey, do your job better.
That's great.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any things like that they think it's essential to teach their counselors that are not related to just specific to their job?
Well, we do
How to
life-
plunge a toilet.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Absolutely.
I was just gonna say, celebrate those
Yeah, that's
those small successes that happen at camp. Exactly, like plunging a toilet and doing all of these weird and random things, and sort of celebrate them and highlight them, because a lot of the time staff don't know the skills that they're learning, and it's a mini advertisement of their successes. And if you acknowledge them and in the fun camp way that we all can do in many different creative ways, but it's really about finding what those weird things are and celebrating them. And I think some of the best people to help you pinpoint what those are new staff members. Ask them what they appreciated learning, ask them, and that will help you to learn how to recognize those things and celebrate them. But we have a person that's sensational at giving a plunging skit, and it's renowned, and it's turned something that that we do daily into something hilarious and a matter of pride. But of course, it links to a whole bunch of other things that they've learned too.
Absolutely.
We've got a gentleman on our staff. He's been on our staff for 12 or 13 summers. And he takes a lot of pride in exactly that same thing. He says he's never been beat by a clogged toilet. And so when there's a clogged toilet, you find Pat, and he is so excited. And it's cool, though. I think it's a neat way to show excitement for doing the little things, for doing those behind-the-scenes things. But, for 12 or 13 years now, he's never been beat. So got to be proud of him for that, I guess.
I think another thing for staff members, if we're trying to treat them right and we're trying to help them learn and grow, making those connections with alumni. I know that Travis has mentioned this quite a few times, but alumni have the doorway into other opportunities, and just even creating a simple layout for staff members to use as to write resumes. All of our CITs learn how to write a resume, but provide that for your staff as well. Give them templates, give them words, create a Google Doc for them so that they can get out there and find out what your staff are interested in and try to match them up with alumni in those fields. I think is just going above and beyond, but it's really creating that, continuing that camp connection. Help them express what they've learned at camp.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I know that Jen Selke, she talks about, like, here's how a layout for a resume, but also here's how you talk about your camp experience in a way that other people will understand on your resume and be able to get what you've got out of summer camp. Just good at that. Any other things that people are teaching their staff that give them stuff to take home? Well, I'll give you another chance to jump in if you have a thought. I'm really pleased that the Treating Counselors Right has been about development, maybe because I'm facilitating the conversation, but I'm glad it's not just have a Sunday night, which is also great, and giving food to camp staff, special food to camp staff is a good technique, but I'm glad we're beyond just bring them into the dining hall and give them Sundays. So I'm going to start to wrap us up, but I'm going to give each of you a chance. Gab, is there anything else you wanted to say that you didn't about cool things to treat your staff right?
I think you're right, Travis. I think it's beyond, writing notes are really important. And yes, having special staff programs are really important. I think camp directors are starting to really see the value of individual tailored goal setting and then follow-ups. And I think that there's simple and easy ways to do that. But I think what I just want to say is I'm really, really grateful to be speaking with Joel and Topher and meeting them today. It's nice to hear what they're up to, and it's nice to hear what other people are, they're doing the good work, everywhere. So
yes.
it's great. I feel honored. So
nice.
Nice. Thank you.
Joel, are there any other things that you folks do that you wanted to make sure we talked about today?
Well, I think Gab touched on it, but I think, again, going into the idea of the staff experience, and really the staff experience being a camp director, program director, assistant director, vision, what are the staff traditions? What are the things that every staff gets every summer experientially that camper doesn't get? And I think those things are important because that's part of the excitement that adds to a camper wanting to become a CIT, wanting to become a counselor. That mythology of becoming a camp counselor, and the mythology and the fantasy of being a camp counselor, and if you don't create or set up, again, the perfect petri dish for staff tradition, they're going to create their own, and you may not always agree with them. So I would be proactive and start doing things. Not staff tradition usually happens during staff training, and then it's gone for another 12 months of the year,
Yeah.
But do staff stuff throughout the entire summer. And I try to reward them experientially the same way we do with our kids, Rafting company gives us a free raft trip because we send so many programmatic side. We take the staff on a staff rafting trip in the middle of the summer when they need a nice cold river and a day without kids, So think of things like that let your staff not only be grateful and more willing to hear the development side of things, but excited to come back. And then finally, think about what is that magic number of the right amount of returning staff versus new staff. Some people like 50-50, some people like as many as possible. I've landed on the number of 65% for whatever reason. If there's more than 65% returning staff, then I don't know, it strips some of that new staff magic away, So pick your ideal number based on the amount of staff you have, and be strict on it because it makes the folks that are part of your experience feel that much more important and special.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Really great. How about you, Joe? Is there something at Pierce Williams that we didn't talk about yet?
I'm not sure. It's always hard to say what is what you do. It's great to do these podcasts and look back and see what we do and talk about it. I think here we really strive to grow staff from within. We have a much higher return rate since I arrived, and part of that is making sure staff understand the importance of what they do, because if they can commit, right? Some parents will think that summer camp's not a real job, but in reality, this is the best place to prepare you for life. And if we can convince parents and staff of that and understand that you make those hard choices, and essentially that it's their choice, And to make staff better, we put the onus on them to say it's your choice. Every choice you make every day at camp leads you to where you're going to be. So by the time you sit across the desk from me and we're going to let you go, you've made the choice to be let go, right? So it's not me having a personality conflict with you. It's you making those personal choices. And what we've really found is when the staff understand that, they're less likely to try and pull the poison pill. Well, if you let them go, I'm going to leave too. That's not the case at all. What happens is they're like, well, why did you make those choices in the first place? And it's skills like those that are hard to teach because they're not a specific thing we do. They're just permeated culture. And the idea of staff culture is the most important component of summer camp. Because if your staff culture isn't grounded in your values and what you want, then you're going to have problems.
Yeah. Right on. Thanks, Joe. Topher, are there anything from Camp Gray that you thought would be great to add into the conversation we haven't added in yet?
I guess just a couple things. Just a fun thing. This is one of those selfish things that I thought would be fun for our staff a couple years ago and really bring us together. I played soccer all growing up, and there's a nearby Jewish camp. We're near the Wisconsin Dells. They're right on the other side of the Dells. And so we challenged their staff to a soccer game versus our staff. And we put it kind of 3/4 of the way through the summer. So it's during that kind of lull, the staff is getting tired and it's long. And it's amazing though when we make up Camp Gray soccer T-shirts and we bust those out that Friday night before the game. And it's really goofy, but it's super fun. So anything like that it's just fun for the staff to get everybody together. And then I guess the other thing I would say is that I mentioned earlier that I like to, every day put out fresh stuff to keep campers excited about camp. A lot of that too is to keep staff excited. They love reading our blogs, seeing the new videos, seeing the pictures on Instagram. So yeah, just all those ways that I can keep really everybody, but staffers especially as well. So I guess those would be my two main points.
Those are awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's a great idea. And I know in Ontario there are, before camp, and I'm going to blank on the name, and I'm sorry guys about that, but there is a staff, multi-camp staff day where there are different sports, goofy games, etc. They're all as part of a fundraiser to send kids to go to camp, and it happens here in Ontario in the spring, and it's just a good way to get everybody together. And, some of it's serious, like pretty serious softball, and some of it's just goofy games. And you could put in teams in all the different sections, and it seems like an awesome idea to keep staff connected and help them have fun as they build the team before they get back to camp in summer.
Yeah, fundraiser. That we just go to their camp and they've got a nice field, and we get a few people to come and watch. But that's not a bad idea. Open it up to a fundraiser for camper scholarships. That'd be pretty awesome.
That would be.
Yeah,
and I think it's working really well here in Ontario, so it's kind of cool.
Very cool.
Right on. Well, I have a couple of last things that I had just scribbled down ahead of time. The life skills thing that we talked about, here are some of the other ones, not that I've taught, but that others have taught. So Beth used to teach people how to drive stick when she had a Jeep, and it was a clutch, and she taught people how to drive stick. We taught people how to change the tires, how to do baking. I wish Dan was here for him to hear me say that we taught people how to knit. Those are all just sort of life skills that people would build their repertoire. Teaching guitar and music was a huge part of our camp culture, and so it was sort of a moral responsibility to sit down and teach somebody how to fingerpick, or just simple chord rundowns, or how to figure out the guitar chords to any song. Those are skills that we passed on to others. Another thing that happened during the summer that I loved, that I've never heard of, I've only heard of one other camp doing it, we got the idea from, is we used to hire people to do dish for the whole camp in the summer. So there'd be people that would be just people who clean dishes. And we decided one summer that we would have the staff do it. And we scheduled everybody in a dish team, and you would do dish 2 or 3 times a week. and depending on the week, but you'd always sort of know when they are. But you're always with the same group of people, and this turns into a great staff social time. You have a task to do; it's finite. You have a set amount of time. You turn on the music. You create your own system, and it just teaches them, I think, a way to take on a bad task, often super hot and sweaty in there, and just have fun doing it. And I think that that's been a cool part of giving them some space away from kids where they can relax. And you're doing a task, but you can have adult conversations and things, and that I think has been a big part of what works really well at Cairn with the staff and did with us at Glenmore. Fantastic. Well, listen, guys, I thank you so much for a great topic and some really good discussion. I know Gab's been doing this, and I've been doing the same thing, writing down lots of ideas to pass on. So I'm so grateful for you being so open to sharing those. And what we'll do now is we'll move on to our tool of the week. So we're pleased that each one of our co-hosts has brought a new tool to share with you. If you're interested in past tools, you can go to camphacker.tv/podcast and look up or search for TOW, and that's Tool of the Week, and you'll see all of the tools. There's been hundreds over the years, and it's been some really cool ideas. I'm going to start with Joe, because Joe has one that I am particularly enamored of right now. Joe?
Thanks, Travis. One of the things that I put on my Christmas list for this year and didn't get for Christmas was the Cool Tools book, A Catalog of Possibility. And it is put out by Kevin Kelly, and the Cool Tools website is totally worth going to and visiting. But there's something about having a physical book. It is a huge book. The Cool Tools book is probably 14 inches tall by 9 inches wide, and
I'm showing it right now, Joe.
400 pages. It's massive. That's awesome. I can't see you, but that's great to know. And it is so valuable. I'm working my way through, like at when I'm eating by myself at lunch or whatnot, when no one else is home, I'll just flip through pages and read things, take notes, because I'm like, hey, if I invest in that for camp, that'll be awesome. And so I hit the gardening section yesterday and we have a farm camp program that we're pretty far into here, and it's really cool to see everything and be like, hey, we could use that, and we could do this, and we could do that, and it's an amazing book. The Cool Tools website, if you don't follow it, you should. But the Cool Tools book is a book that will sit around for years, if not decades. Travis years ago let me borrow his Cool Tools. Do you have the original one there, Travis? It was like a photocopied Cool Tools.
Yeah, self-made.
Once again, put out by Kevin Kelly.
Yeah.
But the new book it's just top-notch, color pictures, great reviews, and worth every penny. It's an expensive book. I think it's somewhere in the $40 to $60 range. Totally worth the investment for your camp.
And it's an expensive book because you go through it, and with a pen, or in my case, I went through with a Sharpie, and I checked off either things I'd bought because of Cool Tools, the website, or I starred things that I wanted to buy because of Cool Tools, the book, and that makes it more expensive. But Joe's right. There's so many great ideas for camp in there, economical ways of, like, you wouldn't believe the things that they have covered in the book. So it's awesome. Fantastic.
Looks like it's on sale for $28 on Amazon right now. So.
Good eye.
Yeah.
That's the way. Perfect. Right on. Thanks, Joe. That's a good one. And Topher, yours is not a thing necessarily, but more of an idea.
Yeah, I just think in marketing a camp, our families, our customers, they're used to the high quality stuff that you can find on the internet. And being a sports fan, I like ESPN.com, Grantland.com. It's these two big sports sites. And I get inspiration from how much they do. They're always putting out videos, podcasts, articles. Of course, it's sports stuff. But if you were a follower of Grantland and then you looked at the Camp Gray stuff, you'd think, wow, it looks like he stole a lot of stuff from Grantland, which I do. But just to have those ideas of how can we really meet these people where they're at, what they're used to seeing.
Yeah, and Camp Gray does some awesome stuff with video. It's really, I love seeing when you guys put out new music stuff, and some of the going back in the history of your YouTube channel is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really great. Right on. So Joel, what's your tool for today?
Some people know about it, and if they do, they probably use it. If they don't, then it definitely changed my world and made it simpler. And that is Animoto.com, which is ANIMOTO.com. And that is a way very quickly, easily, and I think it's a lot of fun too, to create custom slideshows, whether it's for a marketing effort or I just made one for Valentine's Day for our campers, and it took me about an hour, but it was fun, know. The other nice thing, and I know there's a lot of discussion about this, is a lot of people are nervous now because of YouTube and things like that about music. What can I use? What can't I use? Why are my videos being removed? Why is Sony wanting to charge me money? Yada, yada, yada. Well, Animoto has a catalog of thousands of popular songs that are all included. So you don't have to worry about the licensing or things along those lines. So, and I think right now they have a 40% off deal if you want to try it out. But for free, you can make a quick little video of your weekend or whatever you want to do. But it's very high quality, very high polish, and kids and parents love it. Shows up on their iPhone, iPad, all that stuff. So that's my tool.
That is a perfect one. It's a great one. Thank you, Joel. Gab, what's your tool today?
My tool is a book called Theories of Small Group Development by Dr. Ray Cass. And just based on the conversation that we're having today, it goes a little bit beyond Tuckman's theory of, like norming, storming, performing, and, it goes along with how people build trust, expectations versus reality, all of these different theories. So if you're somebody that wants to have a little bit more of a knowledge of why groups do what they do and how you can prepare them, and also how you can observe them. So looking for particular staff behaviors, is it something that arises often or is this occasional, and what to do about them. So it's a fairly simple book, but has really, really great information. And it's a little bit more on the academic side in the sense of giving a little bit of behind the scenes of why we do what we do.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Gab.
No problem.
So everybody's picks, including mine, will be available as a tool of the week in the show notes, again, at camphacker.tv/podcast, so you can see the links to all those different things. My pick is a podcast I listened to where, in fact, I got the idea of doing a tool of the week, called Mac Break Weekly. They have a unit called an Alex, and a unit for them is about $900. Every time Alex picks his pick of the week is always about $900. So it's a measurement of, is this a certain percentage of Alex's or a multiplication of Alex's? And so this would be about not quite 2 Alexes. I have a new camera, and every time I get a new camera, it becomes my pick of the week. Gab and I share that trait. But I have a new camera that I picked specifically because of the image quality. As many of you know, I also work as a professional photographer, and I was looking for a second... Well, I'll tell you, I was looking to replace a wide-angle lens for my good kit, and it would have cost me between $1,400 and $2,200 for a lens. And I thought, for that kind of money, I wonder if I could get into one of these new cameras called a Micro Four Thirds that is so close to the same image quality, just a tiny, tiny little bit less, and is instead in a package this small. So it's not a pocket camera, but it is a camera that I can change the lenses and put my number of different lenses on it. And it's amazing in low light. It'd be such a great camp camera, but I would caution you that it's a great camp director camera or a camp pro, your photography is your whole job kind of camera. This is not one that I would just hand out the office and say, hey, there's something fun going on, take this camera. I don't think it's not quite bulletproof enough for me to recommend that. There are lots of situations where I would now hand staff, I would say, here, if you press this red button, this GoPro will take good pictures. And I would be not afraid to send that into anything. But this camera's a little bit nicer than that. With 2 lenses, it cost me $1,500. And had such amazing pictures that come out of it. And I have, because as many of you know, I spend a lot of my time looking at camp websites and evaluating their online marketing. And so when I see a camp who has great photography, it always sticks out to me. And it's such an important part of telling your story. And good equipment is part of it. Doesn't have to be something this expensive necessarily. But if this is your budget and you want something that's going to be stellar, I highly recommend this camera. It's called the Panasonic GX7. and it's a great pick. What it has on it right now for you photography nerds, I have a 20 millimeter, so it doesn't zoom. I have to walk with my feet to get zoomed. 1.7, which means it has a great big aperture, which lets in lots of light for low light stuff like campfires and things. I would keep the flash turned off and take lots of great photos with it, just like that. So Panasonic GX7 is my tool.
And for those of you that can't see Travis holding it up, it's really sexy. So it's nice.
Gab and I were comparing our new cameras when we were in Florida together. It was fun.
Yeah.
Listen, it's time for us to wrap this up. I thank you all for a great conversation about treating your counselors right. Gabrielle, where can people follow you on the internet or reach out to you if they have any questions?
Yeah, well, you can check out where I work at Ouareau, OUAREAU.com. I'm also on the Twitter bird at Gabrielle Rail, and Rail has 2 L's. And Gabs at Ouareau.com if you'd like to chat. Or I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
Message me.
Thanks so much, Gab. It was awesome.
Yeah. Good times.
Good conversation. And Joe Richards.
You can find me at, you can follow what we do here at Pierce Williams, campisbetter.com. I'm impressed that Gab finally spelt out Ouareau. It's only taken 3 years. And you can follow me on Twitter at YoYoJoeR, or you can find all of my social stuff is also on yoyojoe.com, which is where I occasionally do some small blog posts.
And you've been blogging quite a bit about camp. You're thinking about camp these days.
Yeah, I have this idea that if I can get a thought down to 100 words or thereabouts, it's much easier for you to read as a reader, and yes. But it's a lot harder to write 100 words than something much longer.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Thanks for good stuff today, Joe.
Thank you.
Take care. Topher, if people want to reach out to you, follow up on any of the stuff you said about camp, etc., where can they follow you?
If you just go to campgray.com, that's Gray, which sounds maybe melancholy. I like to let people know it's named after somebody. It's not the color. So Gray, there's links to everything we do there, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, as well as email. You can find me there.
Perfect. That's great. Thanks for being on the show, Topher. It was awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Right on. And Joel, where can people follow you or catch up with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then to see the camp that I'm at right now and Animoto videos, things like that, you can go to golfcamp.com. It's pretty easy to remember. And then I'm on Twitter at Supershark, all one word. And it's usually mostly camp stuff, but every once in a while you'll get a random Bigfoot or zombie post. So
nice.
It's kind of fun.
Those are the pleasant surprises.
That's right. Yeah, I can't help it.
That's great. Thank you so much for being on and for suggesting this topic.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm a huge fan of the show. I love what you guys do.
Right on.
Incredible. You're the tool of the year, tool of the decade. There you go.
Fantastic. Well, I will do what I can to have you both back on. It's been really great.
Okay. Thanks. I love that.
Sounds good. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. If you enjoyed today's show, we would be so grateful if you would share the love. If you could let people know about this show, we're going to get better at letting other camp pros know about all the resources that are available here, because we have years of blog posts and tools of the week, etc. And the easiest way for you to do that is to go to camphacker.tv/love, LOVE, and it'll pop up a tweet that you can send out that sends them a link to the show. And so grateful if you could do that. And the iTunes thing, camphacker.tv/iTunes. It'd be such a huge help to us, and I don't think it would take very long. So thank you very much to our guests for being on today. You can find all of our show notes again at camphacker.tv/podcast. And thanks for the evening, friends.